We are back on Morning Line. Davidson County Sheriff Daron Hall with us today. If you have a question, comment, holiday wish, 737-7587. If you want to dial up, and one reason he did come on for a second time this month is to promote, and we'll continue this throughout the show, the last minute toy store. And it kicks off Wednesday. All right,
so we're going to do some work on getting tickets distributed, but again, lastminutetoystore.com. You can register if you're in need or if you want to volunteer. And I mean, I tell you what, I mean, there's all sorts of folks that volunteer that, you know, I don't know, that it means a lot to see out there volunteering. And I'm saying that from all walks of life, but also some people that just give of their time and don't ask for the attention. And these are our folks you see all the time around Nashville. Really impressed with that outpouring of support to help. And I think there's over, I don't know, 300 or 400 bikes, which is a lot of bicycles. I mean, it fills up rooms out there, and it's just amazing.
Did you ever watch CBS this morning, or CBS Evening News, and see some of the Steve Hartman stories?
Yeah.
Did you see the one this last Friday where he went out with, there's that famous Secret Santa that goes out every holiday, some millionaire businessman who gives out $100 bills around the country. And he turned the table. It's an amazing piece. And what he did is he found an individual who's kind of homeless, would be out, and he said, here, I want to give you this money, and you decide to give it to who you want. And so the people that would walk by and then put money into his cup, he would stop and say, sir, let me give you this back. And he'd give them $100.
Wow.
Now you think a lot of the people giving money sometimes were the ones that had money to spare. A lot of people give money to folks like the homeless that can't really spare. And one of the guys was an individual that has 5 kids at home and hadn't even really thought about how he was going to get holiday gifts, but he put whatever change he had in his pocket in the man's cup. Anyway, my point is, he's right. The people you see out there, if you want to feel good during the holiday season, it's not about what you get. Man, going out there, and I get that sometimes when I volunteer at the mission. You don't do it to make yourself feel good, but you see these people and you can lighten them up a bit, and boy, there's no better gift you can give yourself. And that's what the guy, that millionaire who gives out 100, that's what he says. If you're feeling down, go do something nice for someone.
To somebody else.
And it works.
I'll tell you what, it's funny, I've changed kind of my outlook on some of this in the last, I don't know, 10 years or so, but I'm really interested in, and I feel really warm about people who are working. Now, I know this sounds silly. In the old days, I'd see people, you know, on the side of the road, or others that need to work or want to work or need help or asking for help. I'm sure they need it. I'm not debating that. But what I've found myself, I have a guy who cuts my hair. I go to Great Clips. It's a. I mean, what you have left? Yeah, and it's easy. I could do it myself, I think. But anyway, I know I'm just really moved by this. And again, and you walk in, they assign you to whoever's available. And this particular guy, I don't know. He cut over the weekend. He cut my hair, and he was. I was asking him. I knew he had been in some trouble before. I knew he was trying to get back on his feet. I didn't know the whole story, and so I was just asking the regular questions you would ask. And we talk every time I go in. You know, he knows who you are. He does. Okay. It's not because I've told him. I don't do that. Okay. But anyway, he asked me some things in the past, and this time I said something to him. I said, "So, are you from Nashville?" And he said, "No." He said, "I'm from Indianapolis." And I said, "Well, are you going to get to go home for the holidays, you know, whatever?" And again, I've been in there a year or so seeing him, and he goes, "I can't leave the state." He said, "I'm on probation." And I said, "Wow," you know, and he goes, "I've been on probation for 3 years." And the drug court here in Nashville, which is Judge Norman's thing, and I know enough about how it works, and I knew, and I just see this guy working hard to make a living or whatever, and so, you know, to me, what I do that makes me feel better is I like to help people who are trying to help themselves. I'm not arguing people who are standing on the street aren't helping themselves, but to me, I'd rather see that guy continue to progress. And it's funny, and because of the line of work I'm in, where I get my oil change used to be in our facilities. Where I get my hair cut, where I go eat, oftentimes are people who I know through the system and are trying to make it, and I tip them differently. I believe in them differently. Awesome. It's just and for me, it's more about someone who's, you know, going and trying and to make it work, and for other people, it may be people who can't go to work, and I appreciate that too. But I'm almost, and it's like you said, you feel good to see people trying to make it work. And if I can help them do that, and what little I can do, it makes me feel better, and hopefully it helps them out.
Yeah, and that's a year-round thing too.
No.
It should be. It's year-round. Doesn't have to be just during the holidays. Let's go to Samuel. Or I'm sorry. Let's say it's Ann. Ann, go ahead. Sam's next. Go ahead, Ann.
Good morning.
Morning.
My call, just a reminder of what he was just talking about, and it's a way of paying it forward, and it's doing it without recognition. Christmas Day, to me, has one store that is always open. I have many health issues, and my pharmacy keeps me alive. I like to remind them every Christmas Day with some breakfast or something throughout the day because they're always there. I've identified a homeless man that I know is working really hard, and I know where he buys his groceries, and I like to go in and prepay because I know it's going for groceries. It's not going for beer, and he doesn't know who's paying for him. I like to do it, and I like to leave with a warm heart, and nobody has to know about it. It's about paying it forward. My daughter spent 10 months walking across this earth, and she wasn't harmed. And for God to have watched out for her those 10 months means more to me than anything will ever mean. It's about paying it forward. So this season, identify those people that take care of us 12 months a year and do something special for them because they watch out for us, and they're the true angels of the season. And everybody have a good holiday.
Thank you. Very well said. Exactly right. That's really neat. You get some breakfast.
That's awesome.
I mean, that's
awesome.
really cool. All right, now we've got Samuel. Samuel, good morning. Hi, Sam.
How are you?
Good. What's on your mind?
No, I just want to comment and thank all of them for what they do because, you know, so many times they get bad raps, especially sheriffs and people in law enforcement. Hello.
Yeah, we got you. We heard you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you.
You know, it's interesting that Sam says this, and he's right to a degree. I mean, I think in general most people respect law enforcement, but I saw a study that came out, I think it was last week, and I think from Metro Police Department, they say new recruits turnout for their cadet school or whatever is down 56%, and that is really reflective of the nation.
Right.
Fewer and fewer people are going into law enforcement. I made a mental note. Next time the sheriff comes on, I want to ask him because I imagine it goes over to sheriff's departments as well. It's law enforcement as a whole. And I think in a lot of ways you can to some degree understand why. I mean, it's more dangerous than ever before. You do work some crazy hours. The money is not always, in my opinion, what they should be paid for what they put up with. There's a lot of issues there, and there's more scrutiny on law enforcement than ever before. And it's unfortunate because here's the thing, as people don't go into it, something's going to have to change, and primarily what's going to happen is the taxpayers are going to have to pony up, and you're going to have to pay people a lot more money to be in law enforcement. Maybe I'm wrong on that, because I know there's folks that you will say that do it because it's their desire to serve, which is wonderful, and most of them have it. It's the right thing to do. But when you have to feed a family, and when you're facing what some in law enforcement face these days, so do you see the reflection of what we've heard? 56% drop, more than half the number, and it's going down nationwide across the board.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt about it, and you know, there's a lot of theories and some research about why that is. In the last 10 years or so, it's really the public perception of it, and whether it was the videos and the shootings and all the things that really are a distraction. They're real, but they're a distraction from the 95% of really good work that goes on. And so what happens is, it's part of my theory, but people are as afraid of the lawsuits and the issues and the public, scrutiny to the sense of costing you your, livelihood and your reputation forever, whether you're guilty or not, as a police officer, is equally risky to the danger involved. And you put those two things on the table, and you're asking, we have young, sons. You're 21 years old. When I was 21, it was an honor. It was a decent job. It was respected. It was well liked. Today, that 21-year-old person has to take all these other things into account, and by the way, and compete with driving an Uber car or a $150,000 a year Amazon job. I mean, who in the world is going to do it? And so we're going to be left. I just wonder,
is the rubber going to hit the road at some point? I think about if my son wanted to become a police officer, I would be tickled. I think that's a neat thing. But in the back of my mind, the one thing among all else that would concern me is just the dangers involved with the job. But I would support him, and I'd want him to do it, and I think it's a great thing if he wanted to. And at this point, he hasn't decided what he wants to do with his life. But the dangers is what's the biggest concern. And I guess that hasn't changed all that much, even though I think maybe it's more dangerous. But it's always been dangerous to be a police officer.
Yeah, and let's say dangerous in two different ways. I mean, 25 years ago, you know, and I know people are going to hear this the wrong way. I'm not trying to say things were hidden, but with all the cameras and all the scrutiny and all the lawsuits and all the situation that go into it, and some of that needs to be cleaned up, don't get me wrong, but the point is, we ignore the 95% of really good work, and what ends up happening is, you know, there's 5% or 10% of any job that needs to be improved and have problem people in them. But in police and law enforcement around the country, it gets so I don't know, so scrutinized that what ends up happening is it discourages people for another reason. There's a physical danger involved, but there's also a reputation and a livelihood that is at risk, and you're putting your family out there and all sorts of things involved. And you know, and you're not, I hate to say this, you're not quite appreciated the way the job used to be. The money was something, but you kind of were looked up to. It was an honor. Kids walked up to you when when I was a kid. If someone said, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" It was probably one of those top 5 things that kids would blurt out. That's not the case much anymore, and so it's dangerous, but it's also another thing that's happened, and I think. You know, it's my hope is that we can get it back in the center and get really good people to come and do this type of work. It's hard anyway, but you want good people, and like you said, if the pay doesn't, you know, match what you could cut hair and make and drive cars and
You're gonna have to pay more, I'm afraid,
figure it out,
to get what you want. I mean, I don't know. I just think I know your wage scale. We've gone over it before. Seems fair as it gets started and they climb, but still, to me, for what they do, what anyone in law enforcement puts up with, and some of the crap I report on overnight of what these officers have to deal with, I'm just shaking my head saying, what the heck? Some of the idiots out there and the crap cops have to put up with, and deputies, they need more money.
Well, and I'll tell you something else has changed. I mean, when I came to work here, you had to live in Davidson County. That changed in '96. You don't have to do that anymore, and about half of our staff don't live in Davidson County. They obviously live other places. We have people who travel for, you know, even out of the state of Kentucky and other counties to come to work here now. And so we recruit in Memphis. We recruit and always have recruited up in Clarksville and other areas. And I don't go very many places that I don't ask trying to find people to come to work here, because Nashville has a lot of really good things going for it. The bad thing is there are jobs everywhere, and so we're competing with all sorts of different you know, types of work, and this isn't the most pleasant of places that some people would choose, and so we have to try to get good folks and keep them, and that's our goal.
Take a break on that note. When we come back, Brian and others, we can take more phone calls for the sheriff in our final segment right after this.